my name's Jade Damon, and this is my speech number 2. Alright, so we're going to talk a little bit about helicopters, okay? A little bit about the history and about how they fly. I know some people don't know how they fly. Some people still might not know how they fly. Alright, what's this? Anybody tell me?
That is Da Vinci's first concept of the helicopter.
Okay, first concept of the helicopter. Was it ever built?
He did not build it.
No, it was just drawn out. Drew it out, 1949 or 1488 design. He drew it out, didn't produce it or anything like that. Can anybody tell me who the father of the helicopter is?
Sikorsky.
Sikorsky. All right. So, Sikorsky's the father of the helicopter world. You guys guessed that. So why is he the father?
Because he made the first actual productive helicopter.
Okay. Because he made the first actual productive helicopter. What about this date? Does this date bring anything up to anybody?
His first helicopter.
First helicopter. It's actually the first helicopter flight for Sikorsky. Okay, so it lasted a few seconds, and it was with the VH300. Okay, so it took place in Stratford, Connecticut, and it only lasted a few seconds, and it was tethered to the ground. So they tethered it to the ground, fired it up, started trying to fly it. Only lasted a few seconds. Later on down the road, they actually untethered it and flew it around a little bit more. That was a few weeks to a month later than this actual flight. Okay, so the VS300 had a 28-foot rotor diameter, had 3 rotor blades, and the blades could reach up to 250 miles an hour to 300 miles an hour. So, what is our blade speed in the R22, R44?
400 something revs per minute.
Okay, 400 something revs per minute. Okay, now why couldn't we slow this down at all? Why couldn't we make them slower?
Wouldn't produce as
Wouldn't
much
fly.
lift.
Okay, it wouldn't produce as much lift because for helicopters, speed is lift. All right, so between the two pictures, we have an airplane, we have a helicopter. Now, what one looks like it wants to fly?
The
Airplane.
The airplane, okay? So the airplane wants to fly. So, we have a paper airplane.
Oh.
You throw it, it wants to fly. A helicopter, if you have a helicopter, you throw it, it doesn't want to fly. So, naturally an airplane wants to fly. That's why, you know, everybody has a hard time with helicopters flying. So, by looking at this, if you look at the blades on here, the wing on here, it looks pretty sturdy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if we look at the helicopter doesn't look so sturdy.
Does not.
It doesn't, right? So why does that make any sense between the two?
It doesn't.
It doesn't, okay? So as our rotor blades speed up and get faster, the centrifugal force actually gives us strength. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, centrifugal force gives them strength.
All right. Now, as producing lift in the helicopter, when you first started the flight training or anything like that, how would you think the helicopter was able to fly? How would it produce lift?
Magic.
People think that the helicopter pushes air down through the rotor system, and that's what makes it fly.
Okay.
Hopes and dreams.
Hopes and dreams.
Hopes and
All right. That's partially true. Okay. The actual way that we create lift is through 2 different ways. We have Bernoulli's principle. Okay. So in Bernoulli's principle, I'll show you a diagram here in a minute, but we have 2 types of energy we're going to talk about: dynamic and static. So dynamic, we're going to talk about, let's say, a garden hose. Okay. So dynamic energy causes the water to flow through the garden hose. Static energy causes that outward pressure. So the outward pressure of that water onto the outside of the garden hose. So if we bring up this diagram right here, still talking about Bernoulli's principle, we have our garden hose right here. So turn the water on, we have water coming through the garden hose, there's a constriction, and it's coming out. Now if we put, let's say we have 1,400 units of energy coming into the garden hose, how much has to come out?
1,400.
1,400, because we cannot create or destroy energy. It's basically just a transfer of energy. So we have our static and kinetic. Static is the pressure, kinetic is the pressure going through. So let's say right here we have 800 units of static energy, of energy pressing out onto that garden hose. And then we have 600 units of kinetic energy moving it through. Now, once we get to the constriction, as velocity increases, pressure decreases. So if we have to have the same amount of energy coming in as the same amount coming out, we have to transfer the energy. So in the constriction, it's going to speed up. As it speeds up, our pressure is going to decrease. So right here where it speeds up, our static energy is going to be, let's say, 550 units of energy, and our kinetic energy is going to be, let's say, 850 units. Okay? We still have 1,400. So it just changes the state of the energy. And then once we get back to the unkinked part, or the outflow part, it's going to return back to the same as the inflow. So this applies to helicopters because let's say we take our main rotor blade and we look at the main rotor blade itself. Okay, profile view, looking at it. We can fit it right here. So as our blade goes through the air, it's moving the air molecules in the air, and then it's going to actually, the air is going to hit it, it's going to be forced to speed up over the top, which an increase in velocity is a decrease in pressure, so we get a low pressure on the top and a high pressure on the bottom, which creates lift.
Oh.
All right, our next one is Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So basically, we think of a water skier. Okay, the water skier is sitting in the water, starting to get pulled by the boat. The skis are getting pushed down into the water, and basically that is forcing your skis up on top of the water. Same thing with our rotor system. So that happens as our blades move, rotor system moves through the air, it forces the air down, which is in turn going to force our rotor system or blades up and create lift. Here's my references. HFH is Helicopter Flying Handbook. Everybody in here should have one, should have all this stuff already highlighted because everybody in here is a private pilot. Do you have a highlighter?
615 feet per second is the tip speed path of an R-44.
That was way late. All right, you got it. All right, a couple other ones is the dollar times, just what I use to convert the money, and then also to look up Sikorsky, the first helicopter, things like that. I use this ConnecticutHistory.org. Any questions?
Good job, Jade.